Well, howdy again, folks. Welcome back to the Square to Circle Music channel. I'm your pal, Aaron Major. I'll be your MC for this next half an hour while we talk about music appreciation, vinyl record collecting, because that's what I like to do, and that's what I talk about, and that's what we do around here at the Square to Circle Music Corral. So if you don't like it, there's the door. Head west. Don't let the ocean stop you. What I wanted to do tonight is I've been sick as a dog the last week. I don't know if anyone's watched any of my my videos this last week. Have been pretty out there as far as me just being hopped up on Dayquil and rambling a lot. So thanks for all you folks who've been bearing with me this last week and my grogginess and throatiness, everything going on. But I was on the couch again today. They let me stay home at work just because, you know, they don't want me spreading it around, and I'm no good to them if I can't move around. So stayed home again and just kind of came up with this list, just kind of out of the blue. It's nothing extraordinary, but I was really getting into some of these hit selections today, stuff I listen to a lot. So, but there's something very special about them in the fact that they are all double LPs. So I want to talk about my favorite double albums this evening. Favorite double albums by yours truly. Yeah, so let's talk about them. No, I'm not going to put them in any specific order. It's just going to be a big mixed bag of 10 of my favorites. Don't have a huge plethora of double albums, but I had enough to devise a really cool list. So let's talk about it, shall we? One little bit of criteria. I didn't want to involve anything that these days it's really popular to do these, you know, audiophile, you know, they stretch everything out and make it more, you know, sonically, you know, higher fidelity, and, you know, they cut it at 45 revolutions and put it on 2 discs, and you have this big elaborate thing. People are buying up records no matter what. You can get away with charging $45-50 for it. So I'm not including those because those are all just albums that were intended to be, you know, either in CD format, or when they did press them to vinyl, they did the whole thing, and it's really just intended to be like one album. So I'm being kind of a purist, like I guess you could say, in a sense that these are albums that were all originally released as double albums. I may fudge that rule slightly somewhere in the mix, maybe. But bear with me. Sick as fuck here episode on the Square to Circle Music channel. All hopped up on goofballs. Let's do this. Here's my top 10 favorites double LPs. First one goes without saying. You guys, of course, if you know anything about me and you know my love for this band. I talked about them all night last night. On my channel, I did check out my video history, watch my ranking of all of the top 20 Yes studio albums. And of course, this being their only intended double album that they put out. I suppose if, you know, you discount like the Keys to Ascension, or if you discount, is there any other, like, you know, whatever, there's tons of live stuff, but this being their really only like studio double LP release. So I'm gonna ditch the polypropylene here. I hate all that glare. Yeah, everybody knows the magnificence of this album and how I feel about it. I ramble about it a lot, but, you know, split into 4 parts, 2 tracks on each disc. Yeah, based on, you know, Hindu Shastra or whatever. And it's fucking dope. 1973, Tales from Topographic Oceans by Yes. Love the layout and the pictures of nature and how they, you know, all of the lyrics were written down perfectly, so you can really, you know, take your time, get enveloped, treat it the way it was meant to be treated. Treat it like an, you know, a progressive masterpiece, piece of art. So yeah, that's number 10 on my list. It's Tales from Topographic Oceans, 1973 on Atlantic Records by the legendary UK prog band Yes. Next on the list, I have also brought this out before. I think all these albums I've shown before on my channel, but this one's very special to me. Houses a lot of music in here, and I mean, really, like, probably, I'd say 100 minutes. A lot of fucking music. It's pretty intense. Most of these tracks are well over 6 or 7 minutes. Many of them border on the 10 to 13 minute range, but I love this album, Dreamtime Return by Steve Roach. Steve Roach is an incredible American electronic synthesizer, piano composer extraordinaire, known for, I guess, what you could consider new age music, but there's really no jazz element, and there's really no other rock sensibility or pop sensibility to it. It's pretty just spaced out, timeless, ageless, you know, ethereal, ambient, electronic mastery. So if that sounds intriguing to any of you folks, get on it. Steve Roach is the shiznit. You'll love the hell out of it. And this is an album that doesn't get talked about a lot. He has one from '83 that was, you know, wildly popular. It's called Structures from Silence. They just recently reissued that, so check your record store. And if you love that Steve Roach classic, Structures from Silence, you can get a new, you know, 2021 pressing of that. But this one is on Fortuna records and a little bit lesser known. You don't see it around much. You got to pay kind of a pretty penny for it if you want it on vinyl. They've never reissued it. So this is like 1988 on Fortuna records. It's excellent. So check this out. Number 9 on my favorite double albums, double LPs. Pretty cool. Okay, this is the one I was going to say kind of bends the rules a little bit, I guess, because technically it's a triple LP. And you don't really, you know, not many groups make triple LPs, and so, you know, I only have like 2 in my collection. Just wanted to throw this in there. Love the shit out of them. In the same vein as what we were just talking about with Stephen Roach, you get some really awesome spaced out ambient scenescape, you know, painting type of music, sonic paintings by a band called Stars of the Lid, just a duo out of Austin, Texas. Actually, I'm not sure if it's Austin specifically, but I know they're out of Texas. And yeah, like I said, drone, you know, masterpiece. This album's called And Their Refinement of the Decline. So the full title is Stars of the Lid and Their Refinement of the Decline. Really awesome, you know, box style, just kind of fold over, I guess you could say envelope style gatefold in a sense. And then each individual LP just has, you know, track listing and some interesting art on it, kind of Polaroid style. Yeah, really minimalistic and just brilliantly awesome. On a label called KRANKY. I think they are the creators of said label. Along with, I think, one of the gentlemen in this duo has another group called A Winged Victory for the Sullen, and they also put their music out on the KRANKY label. So yeah, I'm assuming that they probably just created their own little indie, you know, awesome label. And it's just, yeah, like I said, if you like ambient, spaced out, drone, you know, intense music, it's definitely for you. My favorite big box, one of my favorite big box albums, triple LP. Sorry for breaking the rules. All right, here's another classic double album for you guys, because I know you just really want to see the classics, right? All of my viewership is basically men between the ages of 50 and 65. So I guess I should start, you know, gearing a little bit more of this content toward you dudes who like to watch my channel. We don't really have a whole lot in common, do we? But, you know, whatever. I'm just making these videos for me, so I don't give a shit about you guys. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding, guys. Gosh, you haven't figured out my sense of humor yet? Pardon me while I wet my whistle. All right, here's one for you old folks. Ha! Just kidding. I guess I'm kind of an older guy now, because this is definitely my jam. I love The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. It's the shiznit. It's great. Everything about it. I wouldn't say it's my favorite Genesis album, but that doesn't matter. It's still a magnificent piece of work. It definitely has my favorite Genesis song on it. Chamber of 32 Doors is my favorite Genesis song. Really fantastic how they lay the whole story out here for you with all those wonderful pictures about the saga. And I love these inner sleeves have some really cool, fun, you know, kind of retro art. Not hugely, you know, common in 1974 to see this type of art. It's kind of more of an 80s style kind of, I don't know, it's neat. I love it. So yeah, classic prog legends, newly retired for good from the industry, Genesis. Everybody took their final bow recently. So it's been fun seeing this surge in popularity and people buying and talking about this band and all their records. Pretty cool. Love the shit out of Genesis. That's number 6, right? I always do this. I lose track. 10, 9, 8, 7. Fuck me, who cares? Figure it out in the post-production, right? Next on my list, a recent group, a band that I just recently discovered, kind of in a sense. They'd been on my playlist, like a Pandora playlist that I've had for years, and just finally just kind of like kept hearing these songs by them. I'm like, dude, who is this again? Oh, they're so fucking great. They embody so many different great pieces of all kinds of hard rock, kind of pseudo heavy metal that I love. You know, I wouldn't really call them a metal band. They're kind of more of just a psych rock band, you know, garage rock, stoner rock, desert rock, whatever the fuck, but they're from Sweden. And so they're a Swedish, you know, psych rock band called TRUCKFIGHTERS. And they put out this double album box set. I'm not sure exactly when, but I know that these 2 albums were pretty recent. Sorry for being bad about dates right now, but you know, probably like 2014, 2016. Like I said, double album, one called Phi, and the other album that I really, really like is called Gravity X. That album is fucking amazing. You guys have seen that album around because it's the thumbnail for a guy who posts music on YouTube. Oh shit, what's the name of his channel? I forgot the name of his channel, but I discovered tons of awesome music through watching that YouTube channel. I think it's maybe 666 Doom is the username of the guy who posts the music. It's either him or someone else similar, but you've seen this before. If you're a music appreciator and you surf YouTube looking for new music, you'll see this thumbnail for the user guy who puts out tons of just awesome space rock and, you know, stoner rock and cool shit. So yeah, everybody check out TRUCKFIGHTERS, Swedish hard rock at its very best. And this double album that I found, again, kind of a cheat because they were 2 separate albums released years apart from each other, but then they combined them in this really fantastic box set for all of us to consume. So I love the shit out of it. Yeah, everybody check it out. Okay, guys, we're flying right through them tonight. Don't forget things about me and what I do here on this channel. So I've got a contest. My contest comes up in like, a couple days. What is today? Today's like, we're well past tax day. We already made it through 420. Today's got to be like the 21st or 22nd, right? Anyway, I started this contest like earlier in March. I wanted to try to get 500 subscribers. I'm not going to make it, but I don't care. This has still been lots of fun, and you guys can still win a prize by going and finding this video. It looks like this. Search down my history, find that video, watch the video, follow the instructions. Tell me about 4 desert island picks that you would take to the desert island, the music you're going to die with. And tell me all about it. Say, what's up, man? So you have to subscribe to my channel and tell a friend. You got to tell 3 friends, and all 3 of them have to subscribe too. And it's got to be done in the next 9 days, okay? You got it. All right. So do that. It's fun. And then more importantly, any of you guys in the vinyl community or anyone that does like video posting on YouTube and stuff, like, do me a favor. Make a video. It's easy content. Do a video of your 4 and upload it to YouTube and say, hey, go to this moron's channel and subscribe to his channel and play the game. And I'll have 500 subscribers by tomorrow morning, right? It'll be fun. So either way, don't give a shit. That's my spiel. And, you can visit me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook if you want to try real hard. Creepers. So whatever. That's my spiel. Let's go for this is probably the last 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Something like that. Sometimes I throw a little mystery selection at the end. I don't know if I'm going to do it this time. So this has got to be number 5 probably on the list, right? This album means so much to me. I've talked about it dearly many, many times in a very endearing tone. I don't know why I love it so much. I just do. It's a part of my past and my childhood and the history of things I loved growing up as a child of the 80s and how much we loved video games and video game culture. And especially the music was so important to me because it was just captivating and beautiful. Japanese composers are some of the best music makers in the world and always have been. I love the electronic aspect to it. And yeah, it just means a lot to me. And this is that soundtrack to the very famous Legend of Zelda game called Ocarina of Time. This album is called Hero of Time, and it is composed by primarily just one gentleman. I always forget his name, but he composed this and pieced it all together of the music from the video game in a symphonic setting played by the Slovakian National Orchestra, and he conducted it and wrote it. Eric Buchholz, that's his name, Eric Buchholz. And it is absolutely masterful. And anyone that truly is like, you know, an aficionado, or anyone that is like a big head when it comes to symphonic music and classical music, contemporary classical, what have you, could sit down and have a real great time with this and really walk away not really knowing what they just listened to, besides it being a really masterful contemporary classical piece. If you didn't tell them it was fucking from a video game from the year 1998, you know, it's that well done. And of course, this packaging is, you know, absolutely gorgeous. This thing is, you know, an absolute piece of art in itself in LP format. Fantastic double, you know, beautiful marbled green and reddish pink wax on the second disc. The first disc sings a song of basically the video game as a storybook, as you would in a timeline, like progression, the way you would play the game, and you kind of get to experience the hits as you go along and the themes. The second disc is comprised of, in the video game, you go through, you know, whatever, a door, a time wormhole. You open up a door to another realm called is it the Spirit Realm? Something like that. The Chamber of Sages, and you are suspended in animation for 7 years, and you go through time, and you are suddenly in not adult form, but young adult form, being from a child form. And then you go through the latter part of the game as your new adult form with new weapons and new cool things you can do, and you have to go through a series of 7 dungeons. And then so that's what disc 2 is, you know, a layout of the music from every specific temple. They're all very thematic, you know, dark, light, water, earth, you know, fire, all that kind of the elemental jam to it. And it's just, you know, the final, you know, the final piece of it is really intense and beautiful. I could just yammer on. I could yammer on for an hour about this music. Sheer beauty. Everybody check it out. Hero of Time. I don't know when they released this, probably sometime, I don't know, maybe like 7 or 8 years ago. But it's on that really famous label called I Am 8-Bit. And they're just figuring out ways and finding people who want to, you know, do contemporary symphonic, you know, reworkings of video game music. It's pretty fucking sick. You can get like Minecraft music, and I had another one that's I've talked about recently, Mutazione, which is another video game soundtrack that I just picked up just this year, and it's just fantastic. It's great. So yeah, that has to be one of my very, very, very favorite double albums of all time. Okay, moving into a more kind of pop sensible place, talking about some prog rock and some, you know, heavy, you know, some heavier thematic neo-prog. Everyone loves the shit out of Steven Wilson. I haven't talked about this one yet, and I'm not going to say it's better than The Raven Who Refused to Sing. I like The Raven Who Refused to Sing a lot more. I do, but I've talked about it so much. So I really wanted to talk. I wanted to find a forum to bring this one out and talk about it. So I love the shit out of it. Hand Cannot Erase. Really magnificent double LP. Tons of amazing music. I love this fucking art. It is, you know, a really beautiful, thick money copy. It was put out by Music on Vinyl. 180 grams. Just really, you know, it sounds so lush, so delicious. He's known for his studio artistry, his engineering, and everything he's done with, you know, remastering classic prog albums. I have a bunch of those. Like pretty much my entire King Crimson collection is almost all of his remasters. because it does so much justice to the music. I have the Steven Wilson Yes box set, the remixes that he did of 7 of their, most famous albums through the middle bulk of their career. Everything he touches turns to absolute gold. This is definitely no different. This was quite a bit later than, I don't know what he did in between, but it was like 2008, I think, when he brought this out. Oh, pardon me, 2015. I had no idea it was so recent. So within the last 5 or 6 years, 7 years. But yeah, it's really, really great. The First Regret into the 3 Years Older, like the whole first disc, and then into the title track that's basically the best part of the album. I don't know, dude, like the first side of the second disc is also awesome. The Home Invasion and into the Regret number 9 song. That's pretty great. Ancestral is an awesome song. Okay, so I take back what I said. It's not all about the first disc. The second disc is dope because just that song, Ancestral, it's pretty jaw-dropping. It's just one of those artists. Knows how to do it. Knows how to drive the bus. Takes you on a pretty fantastic ride. So yeah, everyone check out Hand Cannot Erase. Steven Wilson. Definitely had to be on the list. All right, here's another big boy, kind of breaking the rules. But for good reasons, and because they're allowed to. They're allowed to break whatever goddamn rule they want. That's all they did throughout their career, was just kind of smash through, glass houses and breaking boundaries and doing all the things, all of the things. This is that Kid Amnesiac album. Kid Amnesia. A very illustrious redux remaster of their super hyper famous albums Kid A and Amnesiac, released only a year apart from each other, meant to be a companion album, kind of a double album. They ended up releasing them in separate fashion a year apart, and you can imagine how much extra material they came up with in that 2 to 3 year period that they were putting this all together. So much so that they wanted to do this and add a 3rd disc of that, exactly that. Just all, the crazy mashup material that never made it to the actual album. And it's just haunting. A lot of it is like I said, a mashup of a couple different tracks put together like an electronic reel from this track mixed with the theme and melody and Tom York on the piano. And it's going at the same time and it fits together beautifully. You have huge elaborate string compositions and renditions of just like the singled out track of the symphony, as the backing track to what the song was on the album, but you have them soloed out, so all you're hearing is the symphony. There's a couple different tracks, the spinning plates, they do that. I think they do that for Pyramid Song as well. Good God, it's so haunting and awesome. Just takes you back to that era. If anyone was at a great time and place in their life in, 99, 2000, 2001, when they were cranking out this music, it just kind of like, it changed everyone's life in a sense. And anyone that was already a Radiohead fan, it was just kind of like, just jaw-dropping and mind-blowing, even more so, in my opinion, than what OK Computer did to the world in 97. I thought that this was just kind of like breaking through so many other new doors. Ushered in by what they were doing, of course, in OK Computer, but less of, the kind of abandoned, to a certain degree, abandoned a little bit of the, hard rock sensibility, the alternative rock sensibility that they were notorious for in their early career. Really, truly reinvented themselves with this. So these 2 companion albums, they belong to each other, they belong in each other's arms. And then the 3rd disc now with all kinds of really great added material, all remastered, and it was well worth every dollar. I had to pay $60 for it, so totally worth it. That's on my list. What do we got left? We just have 2 left. Number 2 on tonight's list, short and sweet here at the Square of the Circle Music channel, because I feel like garbage. You get a twofer. Had to bring these up. Love them. Absolutely love everyone involved in these projects that they do. Which one should I talk about first? First, I'll talk about this double album that was originally released, I believe, in 1980 something or other. Early 80s, sometime in the early 80s, but Brian Eno and his cool brother Roger Eno and their good friend Daniel Lanois. They did that Apollo Atmospheres soundtrack, the soundtrack to the moon landing, in a sense, just kind of what was happening in the world and how excited this made everyone on a global level, and they just sat down and composed a bunch of really awesome ambient tracks to images that they were seeing on the nightly news, images they were seeing in the newspaper and magazines. This was just like sparked the entire world culture of just being obsessed with the stars again. Really magnificent, everything about it. But as it was originally released, it was only just a single album. And then the boys got together just a few years ago and said, hey, we have all this extra material. Remember this stuff? And they did us a favor and they put it all on a second disc and released it as a deluxe edition in 2019. So you have it's all material from those sessions, and they gave it to us, put it on wax, and said, here you go. Here's all that hidden material that you never got to hear. It's nothing extraordinary. It's very similar to what you were hearing in the original release, but you have some really beautiful photographs on the inner sleeves of all that original NASA released content, and just how magnificent. Really, really cool. If anyone is like a lover of, anything, cosmetology, all that stuff. Cosmetology. Did I just say that? I meant cosmology. That's from the movie The Jerk. That's funny. I just pulled a Bernadette Peters. The second disc is dope. The C side of the second disc, there's a lot of Daniel Lanois, and it's cool. So you get a lot of his, what's that one piece? Is it Waking Up? No, or is it Capsule? No, it's from anyway, I've got the discs mixed up. But disc 2 on the C side does have a ton of Daniel Lanois, and it's got like what he was doing with Harold Budd, back in like the Pearl days. So it's kind of shoegazy, and it's great. You get that a lot on what I was saying, the flip flop of that. There's a song called Fine Grain, and it's like a nice like waltz, really, reverby, shoegazy kind of thing. But predominantly the D side and the last part of the C side are heavily just, Roger and Brian just doing a lot of their, beautiful thematic, ambient piano work. It's so magnificent. And then Brian, writes a big bunch in the ledger notes here. It's really fantastic. A little piece of it. Since the moon landings, 4 trajectories of human awareness have unfolded in parallel. First, our growing realization of the profusion, variety, and flux of life. New life forms are identified every day, while others disappear. Second, our increasing grasp of the deep interconnectedness of it all, what we call ecology. Third, an exponential increase in our extraction of natural resources and the resultant waste products. And fourth, the dawning knowledge that the world we are thus making is becoming an increasingly hostile environment for most life forms, including us. We are sawing off the branch that we're sitting on. That's great irony. Just as we discover it all and discover how beautiful and improbable it is, we realize we're wrecking it. Yeah, I wish I was alive at that period in time, and all of just that kind of like existential reckoning that everyone had to face. Wonder how I would have faced it. I don't know. I just grew up knowing that like we're just alone in a sea of chaos. A lot of you older folks had to you had to go through that. I don't know if I envy you or not. I don't know. Pretty incredible double LP. So I thank those guys for giving us all that extra music. And here they are again. I really needed to talk about this as that twofer I promised you. This is that, the dual album double LP that he and his brother Roger and Brian, put together. It's called Mixing Colors. Really gorgeous. Just really, really focused on Roger Eno's magnificent piano compositions on this. Brian just really is doing all of just kind of the production and, the overall, there's a lot of vibe to this, and you're hearing all kinds of wonderful sound effects. But you know, you're getting primarily, you know, a lot of just like he uses Rhodes piano on this a lot. It's not just all grand piano, but there is a lot of that. You know, it's all just themed around their love for art and painting as well. Every track is titled after a, you know, a shade of a color of paint or whatever, you know, Spring Frost, Burnt Umber, Celeste. My personal favorite track on the album, one of my favorites, there's a lot of music on here. Last one on the A side is called Wintergreen. Really beautiful, just 4-minute piano interlude. You just feel like with the effects and ethereal shit that, you know, Brian's doing on everything, you just feel like you're walking through an ice cavern, and I love that shit. I love that really ethereal stuff, you know, obsidian and dark sienna and verdigris and just, you know, artsy fartsy shit. Love these guys. Bunch of art nerds, and they make really great music too. So yeah, very simplistic, very minimalistic. I love that about my ambient and my electronica. Yeah, tonight's twofer, Roger and Brian. Pretty sweet, mixing colors. Okay, boys and girls, here's my favorite double LP in my collection. I love the shit out of this album. Love these guys. They just released a new album. I've talked about them incessantly on my channel. I haven't really dug deep into their newest album yet because they just released it. I don't even think it's available in America yet. So I could have ordered a copy, pre-ordered from Australia. I don't know, probably wouldn't even have arrived at my doorstep yet. And the way the world is working these days. But these are that Australian psych rock, tripped out mofuckers. I love the shit out of these guys. Psychedelic Porn Crumpets. This is their double LP that they put out in like 2014. It was their first album, basically. It was their first full-length LP that they had so much material. They're like, fuck it, let's just make a double LP. Call it High Visceral Part 1 and Part 2. And this is beautiful, beautiful artwork. It's actually designed by AI, I think. Or I don't know if it's designed by AI, but it's definitely, you know, computer-generated art. But friggin' gorgeous, right? This thing is so fucking awesome. You can buy it in single format. You can get each individual one on its own separate LP, but I just opted to spend a little bit of extra money and get both of them in this beautiful gatefold. And I think with this double album, they did it on the fancy splatter, you know, marbled, whatever you would call that. I don't think that's splatter. I guess that's just marbled, right? Friggin' gorgeous. Yeah, look at that. It sounds amazing. I think High Visceral 1 is probably my favorite. 2 being kind of more like sort of B-sides, you know, kind of just like secondary tracks to a lot of things, and just a little bit more kind of jam oriented, and most of them are instrumental tracks. The bulk of kind of the pop sensibility of the whole thing is on the first disc, the High Visceral Part 1. But, you know, this is how I discovered the band. Songs like Cubensis Lenses, songs like Found God in a Tomato. I fucking love that song. That is my favorite psychedelic porn crumpet song. Found God in a Tomato. The High Visceral track itself is dope. The opening track to the album, Cornflake, is fucking dope. Yeah, they're amazing, guys. If you love just gnarly, wicked, cool, fucking high voltage rock and roll, like this is not like tripped out stony psych. This is like in your face, driving, kind of like pop punk mixed with AC/DC, because, you know, you can feel that Australian, you know, you can hear their blood pumping through their veins, their Australian blood. It's, you know, they have that much of kind of like a maker's mark on their music. They're truly magnificent. So yeah, Aussie rockers, psychedelic porn crumpets, probably my favorite double LP in my collection for every reason. The music, the art, the presentation of it all. The discs are amazing and gorgeous. Sounds amazing, is amazing. So yeah, check that band out if you guys haven't. Thanks for hanging out with me this evening, my sick ass, talking about my 10 favorite double LPs in my collection. If there's anything else you'd like to hear or see from me, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, just tell your friends, subscribe to my channel, and try not to, you know, hit your ass on the way out the door. Laters.